Imagine a world where nothing ever changes. You wake up, and the sun is always the same shade of yellow. Your coffee tastes exactly like it did yesterday and will tomorrow. Your favorite TV show airs the same episode, forever. Sound exciting? Probably not. This thought experiment, while absurd, touches on something crucial about life. Change is inevitable, and maybe that's a good thing. Let's start with a thinker who built his entire philosophy on change. Heraclitus, a Greek philosopher. He famously said, "You can't step into the same river twice." What he meant is that the river, like life, is always flowing. The water you step into is constantly moving, just as every moment of our lives passes by. Even if you step in again a second later, it's not the same river anymore. Everything is in flux. Heraclitus believed that change is the fundamental nature of reality. He saw everything as part of a grand, ever-moving process. You may have heard the phrase, "The only constant is change," which sums up Heraclitus's view perfectly. Just look at nature. The seasons change. The leaves on trees grow, turn orange, and fall to the ground. Flowers bloom and wilt. Nothing stays the same, and yet we often find this constant transformation stunning. Even on a larger scale, the universe is always changing. Stars are born and die. Galaxies move and shift. Our very planet is constantly evolving. Change, it seems, is not just a part of life on Earth. It's part of the fabric of the cosmos. Even if you currently have poor health, this doesn't mean it will last forever. The body has an amazing ability to heal, adapt, and regenerate. Cells are constantly renewing. The immune system works tirelessly to fight off illness. Just like everything else in life, health is not fixed. It can change for the better, and your current state doesn't define your future. And so it is with all aspects of life: divorce, losing a job, etc. One of the best arguments in favor of change is that it's necessary for growth. If nothing changed, we would never learn, improve, or evolve. Imagine if you never changed from the person you were as a teenager. You'd still be making the same bad choices. Thankfully, you've grown since then, and change made that possible. This idea of growth through change is something the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche talked about with his concept of eternal recurrence. Nietzsche suggested imagining your life repeating exactly the same over and over for eternity. Nietzsche's point was that change allows us to live meaningful lives. If everything stayed the same, there would be no opportunity for improvement, for making different choices, or for becoming better versions of ourselves. Okay, so we've established that change is inevitable, natural, and even beneficial. But how do we actually embrace it? Easier said than done, right? Let's start small. Think of a cluttered closet. If you're like many of us, you've probably held on to clothes you haven't worn in years because maybe I'll need them someday. Spoiler, you probably won't. Letting go of those clothes can be freeing, just like letting go of anything else in life that no longer serves you. And each time you let go, you create space, both literally and figuratively, for something new. While change is a natural part of life, as humans, we often resist it. We want to hold on to things, relationships, youth, success, and we don't like the idea of things slipping away. This resistance is where Buddha comes in. Buddhism teaches that clinging to things, or wishing for permanence in an impermanent world, is the root of suffering. The Buddha observed that we get attached to things we like, whether it's our possessions, our appearance, or even our loved ones. But because nothing lasts forever, that attachment eventually leads to disappointment or pain when things inevitably change. Let's face it, change can be absurd sometimes. Just when you think you've got life figured out, something unexpected happens, and you're back to square one. But here's the secret. You can either stress about it or you can laugh. Albert Camus, another existentialist philosopher, talked about life being inherently absurd. He used the story of Sisyphus, a figure from Greek mythology who was condemned to push a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down every time he reached the top. At this point, we've explored the philosophical arguments for embracing change. But how do we actually apply this wisdom in our day-to-day lives? It's one thing to accept that everything must change in theory, but another thing entirely to cope with the messy, unpredictable nature of real life. One way to approach this is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness, often linked to Buddhist philosophy, is simply the act of being present in the moment without trying to resist or control what's happening. By being fully aware of what's going on around us and within us, we can observe change as it happens rather than trying to fight it. For example, let's say you've just lost a job. It's natural to feel a wave of emotions, panic, frustration, even anger. But instead of getting stuck in the resistance to this change, mindfulness encourages us to observe these emotions without judgment. By doing this, we give ourselves space to accept the situation for what it is and move forward with clarity. Think of embracing change as a muscle you can strengthen. The more you practice accepting small changes, the easier it becomes to handle the bigger ones. In other words, we can build our change muscles by starting small. Of course, there are times when change feels like a tsunami hitting you all at once, and no amount of decluttering or mindfulness seems to help. In those moments, it's okay to take a pause. Just because change is inevitable doesn't mean you have to rush through it. Take a deep breath. Pause. Give yourself permission to feel overwhelmed. Sometimes the best way to deal with change is to step back and give yourself the space to process it. It's like being in the eye of the storm. The world around you is spinning, but in that moment of stillness, you can find calm. Emotions, like everything else, are impermanent. Have you ever felt an overwhelming sadness or anger, only to find that, after some time, it faded into something else, perhaps even joy or calmness? Just as waves rise and fall on the shore, our feelings ebb and flow, coming and going with the tides of life. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of remembering that emotions are temporary. He encouraged people to observe their feelings without becoming too attached, knowing that both joy and sorrow are fleeting. This can be comforting when we're in the midst of difficult emotions, as it reminds us that no feeling, no matter how intense, lasts forever. In the end, change is like the rhythm of life. It's the beat that keeps everything moving forward, whether we're ready or not. But instead of fearing it or trying to resist it, what if we chose to dance with it? That's it for now. Thanks to everyone who watched. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more new content. See you next time.